All right, well, we've got 8 of us. It's a couple minutes after 7. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. We do have BCTV recording this, so we're live. Any additions or corrections to the agenda, folks? Nothing? Okay. For board norms, normally I'd say look in front of you, but no, just remember to be respectful, try and stay on task, respect the agenda. You know, these meetings have been working pretty well for me in work life. So let's hope we can get through this one. Oh, just a little bit of housekeeping. There should be on this, I think everybody's in on a computer from what I can see on the panel here. There should be, if you hover over your name, a more, and on that more, you can raise your hand. So just raise your hand and I'll recognize you, and you can unmute yourself and speak when you need to. So that being said, members of the public, if you're here to just observe and speak to something on the agenda, we'd ask that you do it then. If there's something else that you're here for, now's your chance. Anything? And obviously, when you do speak, if you can identify yourself for the listening and viewing audience. Okay. Anyone have any correspondence? I don't have anything. No, I see shaking heads. Okay. All right. We had warned a couple of policies for possible adoption tonight. So Ken, as chair of the policy committee, you want to speak to those and walk us through what needs to be done?
Sure. The weapons policy and the school closing, not school closing policy. We're going to change. This is what do we call it? It's not it's not closing, school closing. It's called
it's emergency closings.
Emergency closings. Okay.
Yes.
Because we don't want to go open up a can of worms saying we have a policy on closing schools. Okay. So anyway, so emergency closings, F32, we warned it at our last meeting. We need to adopt it, and we need to also adopt C5, the weapons policy. I will be eventually calling a meeting to resign as chair and take up apparently we're going to be taking up the weapons policy. So I didn't have time to do it before this meeting. So what I'll do is I'll just get in touch with Meg and have it warned, and then I'll set up a Zoom meeting. I just need to make sure I have everybody. I think we have 1 or 2 new members on it now.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and check my notes to make sure who's on the policy committee, but I know there were some new members. Okay. I can get it to you. I just don't have it right in front of me.
Okay, if somebody can send me an email with them, then I'll set up the meeting.
You bet. So we would just need a motion then to adopt policy C5, the weapons policy, and F32, the emergency closing policy.
I'll make those motions.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Oh, gotta let Mike Foley in. Any further discussion on those policies?
Joe?
Yes?
Do we have to vote, this is Dana, do we have to vote on them separately? Or can we group them?
I don't see any reason to vote on them.
We have to have a verbal.
We have to have a verbal aye on each one. So we'll do the motion, I guess, as 2 parts. That makes sense. So any further discussion on those? Seeing no hands. So all in favor of adopting policy C5, the weapons policy, please say aye.
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 Wait.
Aye. You have to do a roll call.
Let me just go down the list here. Emily?
Aye.
Lindsay,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Trish,
Aye.
Dana,
Aye.
Howie,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Leanne.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. All in favor of adopting policy F32, the emergency school closing policy? Again, please say aye. Howie,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Dana,
Aye.
Emily,
Aye.
Leanne. You got to unmute. Lindsay,
Aye.
Did we
Leanne, can
record?
you unmute?
Yeah, we have to unmute Leanne.
Let's
My
see.
internet cut out. Aye.
Okay, thank you. I'm like, I can't even unmute her. And Mike, you're the last one. Or did I? No. Mike, Trish.
Aye.
There's
I had
a
already,
list
I had
down
already
the-
said aye.
Yeah, I know. There's a list down the side of my screen, and as people mute and unmute, you move on the list. And I was using the list as a way to go through it. Again, the ayes have it. The motion carries. We have adopted policy C5 and F32. Thank you. Okay, we don't have a student report. I know they got invited to the meeting, but they didn't send a written report, and I don't see them here. I haven't actually talked to any students to know how they're doing, but I think from what I hear, they're actually admitting they missed school, or most of them. We had the principals' reports. We have all the principals. If anyone has a question regarding any of the stuff regarding any of the materials in the principals' report, anyone? Trish?
Hi. So this wasn't really in the principal report. Sorry, I'm going to put you on the spot here, Bob. Question that I have is what, besides the lessening of, I guess it was Google Classroom alerts and some work, what's the reasoning behind canceling called humanities for the remainder of languages, art, I think it was band and chorus?
Yes, the middle school, what we were hearing others, that middle school students in particular were really overwhelmed. And when you think about a high school student who has 4, maybe 5 teachers, they get the alerts from the Google Classroom for those, credited courses. But the middle school level, they have 5, 6 really with PE and health added on to the 4 cores, plus all their exploratories. And so what we try to do is limit the overwhelming feeling that we were getting. And, with the recommendation from the state of the 2 to 3 hours per day of work for middle school students, we wanted to also lessen the workload. So all the exploratories have been taken off. Band is still in the mix, and PE and health are still in the mix, but the others have all been taken off, and they're building a spreadsheet or building a website that families, much modeled after Newbrook's, actually, nice work there, Scotty, that people can go in and use. You do it as enrichment exercises and things like that instead, if kids are needing more work to do. But that way it takes that onus, the additional burden on kids, and not to mention the additional emailing of the alerts that parents are being inundated with. So that was the idea. I don't know if that helps clarify.
It does. I guess I have 2 follow-up questions. One is, when will, I guess, just as a parent, a concern of mine is, so what happens to Spanish? Where do the 8th graders who are in Spanish go from here? When they become freshmen, are they taking Spanish 1 again? Is there going to be some kind of testing? When will we know what the next step is to do these things voluntarily? I have so many questions. I'm sorry. Will they be graded? How will they be graded?
Yep. So let me try to answer those as they come in, so I don't lose track of them. The first is that earning credits towards the high school coursework. So all students, regardless of the dismissal, would still start at Spanish 1 in 9th grade. So in that process of selecting courses for 8th grade has already begun, and hopefully you've been in touch with Sarah Grasso about selecting courses for next year, which could involve a level 1 of a Spanish class. So the grade part of those exploratories is really not, it's not an essential part. We really want kids to use that as a way to explore what the things are that we have at the high school level, and not do it as in a way to overburden them. So it doesn't have an impact on them what they would do in high school in that regard. They won't be graded on it at this point. The 4th quarter scores will just be the 4 core subjects: PE, health, and band if your student is in band.
That makes sense. And then I guess final question is, what are those teachers doing now?
So because those are teachers that are shared staff with the high school, they're focusing on their high school classes, and working on developing the enrichment stuff, because they're still going to have things on that website for kids to do and families to engage with. It just won't be required work. So they're still providing work and putting on the website. And like Kevin Burke, for one of them, is actually doing the website building himself as part of his role.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, anybody else have a question for one of the principals? Moving on to the superintendent's report. Any questions from there? Bill looks ready to get grilled. Ken. Ken, you're on mute.
There we
You're
go.
unmuted.
Now I'm unmuted.
Yeah.
It's because the host muted me. Don't you wish you could do that in a live meeting, Joe? Anyway, so we have new recommendations from the Secretary of Education. A new grading policy up the high school, correct?
I wouldn't call it a policy, but I would call it how we're operating under the COVID-19 pandemic period of time for the final 9 weeks of school.
So we don't need a policy.
We do not.
Awesome.
And the specifics to that, Ken, will come out with report cards this week from quarter 3.
Awesome. Thank you both.
Yes, Trish.
Bill, how do you think it's going? I mean, it's such a, I don't even know. I have a lot of words that I could use, but none of them are appropriate here.
I would say that I'm unbelievably proud of the team that you guys are a part of. The frontline workers, our counselors, social workers, teachers, food service, people that are paraeducators that are jumping into new roles. It's really quite amazing. I'm very heartened by the approach that all of our people have taken. It's been very team oriented, but yet specific to the talents and skills that people have. More often than not, I am communicating with principals about how they are communicating with their team members, about how to get people to stop communicating with families, how to give themselves times to recover, because the care and dedication of our colleagues is unbelievable. So as crazy as this time is, it has really shined a light on the quality of people that you all employ. And it's been very enjoyable to watch everybody rise to the occasion. In terms of specifics, we have certain families we're very concerned about, but again, when you have professionals as the social workers and the principals and the teachers, the paraeducators and the counselors that are focusing on those families that really need it, I don't worry. I'm concerned, but I'm not worried because people are on top of it. People are making sure that needs are being met. I think the flexibility and the creativity of the teachers has been amazing. And I'm really hopeful that all the skills that we build during this time will be able to be transferable for the foreseeable future. So as challenging as this time is, I'm really proud of our team, and I'm proud of the work that we're doing.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Watching this go. Oh, Emily, go ahead.
You were about to say, I'm sure, what I was going to say. So I'm sorry for cutting you off. I had my hand up and you didn't notice it, but I just need to say that I so respect what we just heard from our superintendent, and I so respect our teachers and our staff and the people, the parents and community members who are working so hard to make this effective for our students. This is the most challenging time ever. And I had no doubt that our SU would step up, being intimately knowledgeable about it. But I just wanted to also say that this is what we're seeing across the state. And while we're still trying to figure out how we move forward, what we've done in Wyndham Central is exactly what needs to be done everywhere else. And I just can't thank the staff and faculty and every support system beyond that, which we have a ton of, including our community members. This is really, really challenging. And thank you, Bill, for leading that, and all of the principals and everyone beyond that, because this is really, really challenging, and our families and our students will make it through this. I have no doubt. So thank you.
You did. You did. That's essentially what I was going to say, although I
My
think you said it
apologies.
better. You know, it's really, you know, gratifying to watch. This thing twists, turns, and changes every week, every day. And you guys just kind of calmly adapt and continue moving forward and do the best you can by the kids. You know, I've seen it in not so much because I don't have any students anymore, but in you know, the feeding the students and, you know, the support that comes out that I see just copied as a board member that goes out, the weekly briefings and the daily briefings and some of the, you know, things that go out. You guys are doing an incredible job. And thank you.
I definitely agree with that.
Yes, Bill.
I just want to thank all of you, because I've had
Good.
multiple principals and teachers reach out to me to let me know that you all, as board members, have individually reached out to teachers and counselors and social workers and principals and food service professionals, whether it's a kind word or it's a quick email or it's sharing something with somebody else in the community. That means a lot to our team when we hear from our elected representatives that they feel like we're doing a good job. So I just wanted to thank you all for continuing to reach out to the people that are doing the work, because it does mean a lot.
All right. Thank you.
Now I actually have some business I got to do too. Can I do that?
Okay. We'll let you.
So I just wanted to update the board on a couple things that are going on. And Emily, feel free to jump in if I say something wrong. But the legislature is working on some possibilities for voting of budgets. There are 18 districts or SUs or SDs that have not had a budget completed yet. 9 of them had a budget that was turned down. 9 of them, like West River, have not brought it up yet. And the legislature is working very creatively and very helpfully to have some different possibilities rather than the only fallback being the 87% of borrowing from the previous year. A couple things that are up for consideration, I believe it is coming out of the Senate, is the fallback being whatever you spent in FY20, or the fallback being whatever you spent in FY20 plus whatever the average increase is for all the budgets that have been passed, not the 18. Is all in the beginning stages. Things are moving rapidly and fast, but I just wanted you all to be aware that those paths are happening so that the legislature, I think correctly, is thinking through what would the reality be if we can't have a vote in June, and what is the position that we need to have for school districts to operate responsibly in their communities in an unprecedented time. So I'm going to ask you guys later to change your date to June, but I wanted to prepare you that June may not happen. But I think the legislature is doing good work to make sure that even if that doesn't happen, there'll be some other possibilities that would do well by our community. Emily, did I hit that?
You did. I raised my hand, want to step in until Joe recognized me,
Oh,
but
sorry.
you absolutely did hit it. And just for a quick update about what's happening in Montpelier, the Senate has already been able, with 30 members, it was a little easier for them to navigate the training process it takes to vote remotely. So they have already started work kind of ahead of us a little bit in the House. We're still in the process of training members so that we can actually take a vote to authorize ourselves to vote remotely. I know that sounds a little crazy, but that's the process we're on. We need a 3/4 majority of members of the House, of the 150 members of the House, to be able to actually vote to enact legislation or to change legislation. So you're absolutely right. The work is happening in the Senate. And I applaud the work that they're doing. I thank them very much for that. I do know that our House Education Committee and our House Ways and Means Committee, they're both meeting and they're both following this very closely and working closely with our colleagues in the Senate so that we can come forward with some form of legislation that will be supportive of not only our kids and our schools, but our state. We are in an unprecedented time for challenges around funding. If anybody has been following the VSA and the VSBA and the work that they've been doing, trying to get a handle on what this actually looks like with the loss of sales tax revenue in the Ed Fund, it is going to be a huge challenge, without a doubt. I mean, we're facing challenges in every area, but the Ed Fund is particularly a challenge. So thank you for staying connected and sharing with not just me, but everyone who's working up there trying to find a path forward. I don't know what we're going to end up on, but I do know that when we end, it will be the best path forward. I have confidence in that because everybody's focusing on what can we do for our kids and our communities. And so just stay tuned, as I guess all I would say. And the path for the House to be able to enact any legislation, because obviously the Senate can't do it on its own. It has to be both the House and the Senate, and then signed by the governor. And we're staying very closely connected with the governor as well, both of our bodies, so that we are all working in the same path to try to find answers for all these questions. But we're still in the process of training, as I said, to be able to enact remote voting. You all know, you're feeling in your own homes and your own communities, the challenge even around broadband and whether our members of our House have enough internet access to be able to do remote voting. So since the governor has extended, rightfully, it seems, the stay at home to begin in the middle of May 15th, we have to adapt to that. So we're moving forward, hopefully by the end of the month. Don't hold me to any schedule because it's all dependent on how things are panning out. But by the end of the month, hopefully we'll be able to start to enact some of this COVID legislation that we have on the path, and we're working very closely in our committees to have it happen. So thank you for all of your patience. We really do have a lot of work ahead of us, but we're focused on kids first. So thank you.
Yes, Bill.
So further segueing where Emily's coming from, Joe and Lori and I got to participate in a joint fiscal office presentation on Thursday, which followed presentations to the legislators. And just in a nutshell, FY20 revenues are looking really bad in the fourth quarter. And we could be talking anywhere from a 70 to $100+ million shortfall. That's for FY20. And then for FY21, which will be starting to collect revenues July 1st, they're predicting that it could be very similar and could go into the multiple hundreds of millions, which will mean when we build a budget in the fall, it's going to be in the context of the Ed Fund having serious downward pressure, which means serious upward pressure on the tax rate to raise the same amount of money. So don't want anyone to get too scared, but I don't want anyone to be too surprised when we have these very difficult financial conversations over the next 6 to 8 months, because the context has completely changed from everything we were talking about 4 months ago. And so I will keep dribbling the crumbs down the path and keep you guys well informed, but I think it's critically important to understand we're in a whole new world. And raising, just for our example, raising the $12,047,000, if we duplicated that next year, it would look very, very different in tax rates than it would today. So it's something to consider as we start thinking about what we're going to be doing over the next 6 to 8 months.
True.
VSBA sent out actually a link to go watch that webinar along with the 3 documents that were presented to the attendees. As a board member, everyone should have gotten it. If you didn't get it, let me know and I will get the VSBA link to you. It's about an hour and a half maybe of the gentleman from the Joint Fiscal Office and a couple of other people presenting.
Yeah.
And it's very clear. He says, it's not policy, it's just facts, and this is actually what the legislature got as well, so that we're all working from the same information. It was an interesting presentation.
Yeah.
So let me know if you don't have it.
I don't have it, Joe. Would you send it to me?
Sure. Does VSBA not send you things?
Yeah, for some reason I never get their emails.
That's because you keep changing your background, man.
Come on, it's the closest I can do to an LNG meeting.
Hey, Mike, you should contact them immediately and add yourself to that list because you need to be getting those.
I will
Okay.
send it to you, but yeah, you should definitely follow up with
Just call.
VSBA.
All right.
Okay. So the next thing on the agenda. Oh, nice, Bob. You got a top mic. The next thing on the agenda was
Nice one,
the
Bob.
discussion on postponing the annual meeting and budget vote. So, do we have to go through the same procedure that we had before, where we call the special meeting to actually do it, at the right before it, or can we just have a motion to do it right here?
You can do it right here, right now, but you just have to do it in a roll call vote. You have to have a motion to change the meeting from May 5th, 6th,
May 6th.
to June 10th.
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to postpone our annual meeting from May 5th, 6th to June 10th. Any discussion on the motion? What?
Joe, I made the motion, so I just want to quickly say for the folks who are listening in and for minutes, maybe I should have said Emily Long, I make the motion, just so that everybody understands. And my apologies for not doing that.
Well, they can see you. They'll be able to see you.
They can see me, but they may not be able to recognize my voice and they may not see it quickly. So I think it's probably really important for transparency that we state our names when we make a motion in the second.
Any discussion on that motion? All right. All in favor, please say aye. I'll run down the list. Emily,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Howie,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Dana,
Aye.
Leanne,
Aye.
Lindsay,
Aye.
Trish.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're pushed to June now. Thank you. Okay. Next item was the class configuration update. Bill, you have some information for us?
So at our last meeting, we had a vote, I believe it was 5-4, to allow us to post the position. I made the executive decision not to do that based on after your guys' meeting, we got way into the world of COVID-19. Doesn't mean that we can't do it, but after hearing the Joint Fiscal Office report, I just don't think we should be committing any dollars beyond what you guys have proposed for the budget at this time. If there becomes a time in the future that it becomes necessary to recommend the hiring of an additional teacher, I will take the responsibility of working in partnership with the principals. I will bring that forward in an evidence-based argument saying that this is why I believe it should happen. That does not have to happen today. It does not have to happen in a month. I think we have to understand what the context of the decisions you guys will be making further on in the future. So my recommendation is to direct me not to post an anticipated position and scold me if necessary for not following your original direction. But I felt it was necessary not to take that action during this unprecedented.
I would say those are the decisions we look to you to make. I think that's a wise decision given what we're facing right now. Dana's got his hand up, like using the thing, not waving at me. So Dana and then Ken.
I just want to point out I'm in a closet the way my household is going right now. So you don't need to see my closet. I agree with Bill that maybe we better hold off and see how this COVID-19 plays, because I think with this shifting economic structure that's going on right now, we may lose families because they need to go somewhere else in the country or things have changed. So we might want to wait and see. And then if we let Bill pull the plug real fast and find somebody, I'm sure there'll be somebody out there looking for a job. So let's, kind of wait and see on it and see how these chips fall.
Ken?
Dana just said it all. That's pretty much it. Good job holding off, Bill. I think you made a wise decision.
Anybody else? Okay, so there's your new direction. Well done. Okay, now we need to talk about the long-term work planning calendar.
So last meeting, I presented 2 calendars to you. You guys had a little bit of discussion. We said we were going to talk a little bit about it tonight. Basically, one calendar is adding a second meeting every month for the next 5 months. This other calendar is keeping those meetings, but then adding a check-in with the budget committee in between. And so I need the board to make a decision about one of those 2 calendars. And then secondly, I need direction for me and my team to start working on what those different scenarios can look like for the board. And in doing some reflection and chatting with my colleagues, I would like to keep it as open as possible in terms of direction so that we can provide you as many different options as possible. My suggestion would be that every scenario or option that is presented back to both the board and to the budget committee reflect the West River values. But any other constraints, I would say, can come during the process rather than at the beginning. But I take my direction from you all, and so I'm just going to make that suggestion. And then I need to hear from you what marching orders you would like us to take.
Okay. I know we talked about it at the last meeting, some which calendar we wanted to use. You know, there was discussion back and forth about whether or not we kept the budget committee involved and let the budget committee do some of the extra work. You know, what's the pleasure of the board? Mike?
I think it makes sense to keep the budget committee, and I mean, it's all going to go in front of the whole board anyway, but let the budget committee do some of the groundwork so we don't have to have multiple full board meetings every month.
I also, you know, I know there were concerns about the budget committee maybe not sharing. I think if we use the budget committee more like we've been using the administrative tasks too, you know, the board can set the budget committee to look at certain elements of the plan, or, you know, investigate certain things the way they can happen. And you know, then that'll get reported back at a board meeting. So I was, you know, just trying to think of how it works. Emily's hand is up. Lindsay's hand is up.
Very quickly, I agree with what Mike just suggested, and I think that that's maybe a more efficient model at this point in time with all the unknowns. I would just also add that we should probably be prepared to be called to a board meeting in case it's necessary. So maybe a second meeting as needed by our board any month, but in the meantime, the budget committee could be acting in, you know, to keep all of us apprised and to make sure that they are sharing whatever they're learning with the full board as it unfolds. So thanks.
Lindsay.
Emily just said what I was going to say. That, yeah, I definitely think that's the right structure. And I also was going to say that in terms of communication between that committee and the rest of the board, I think it's totally fair for the larger board to ask for clearer communication, and also to be prepared to step up and do some more of the work as need be, because things are probably going to be pretty strange.
True enough. Anyone else? Oh. Dana agrees with you. He's chatting. Okay, so it looks like the, you know, move forward with the budget committee schedule. In terms of direction, thoughts? As much trouble as it got us in last time, I'm sort of like, remember plan A, B, and C, where we just said, show us what you can do, and you know, go back to the values and show us what you can do. I'm inclined to let you have that sort of freedom for the initial discussion anyway. Yes, Bill.
My only caveat would be that what we learned from our last process is that we have a process that both Lindsay and Mike talked about the interplay and the information being transferred from the board level to the committee level, as well as presenting something to the public in a rollout in the fall over multiple meetings, multiple periods, not at a summertime period when it could be challenging for parents to fully participate and community members to fully participate. So the idea is that we would do the work from this point up until about August, back and forth, board, budget committee, so that the board would have some options that they felt that they had vetted, that they felt comfortable, and then they would present those to the communities, even though the community can participate throughout the whole process, but have an official opportunity just to present those things in September and October. So the board would be well informed about where the community stands before they got into budget building season.
Absolutely. Yes, Mike.
Just wanted to piggyback onto that. And I mean, obviously we all know we're in unprecedented times, but how are you even going to be able to come up with options? Because you got the options based on this year's numbers or last year's numbers. And then this chasm of, we have no idea what our budgets are going to look like and what the fiscal end is going to look like.
Yeah, go ahead.
We will build it on the best information that we have at the time. And it'll probably involve multiple options because you guys are going to have to vet them. You guys are going to have to say, oh, I like this part. Can you build it over this way? Or can you take this core and can you extend it? I consider the next 4 or 5 months this ongoing conversation as we get more information and we realize what's possible and what's not, and then what's palatable and what's not.
Right. Are you finding, I mean, any glimmers of hope from what we're going through right now as ways to cut, reduce costs going forward? You must be seeing something, right?
No.
No.
Nothing is on a positive side of money as of right now.
Yeah. I was more thinking like with more stuff online or ways to cut the costs that we currently would be
Well, I
spending.
think Ken and Lindsay's dream of not having snow days is a real possibility. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's low hanging fruit. I think we've just basically trained everybody to be able to make that happen. In terms of the ability for us to offer more remote learning, I think we're kind of doing a little pilot now to see what's possible.
Mhm.
But in terms of building for the long term, I don't know how that's going to look.
Fair enough.
Go ahead, Ken.
Got to unmute. I was going to say, we got to be saving money on transportation and mileage.
We are in certain arenas. Some of our transportation is currently being spent making sure everybody gets fed. So we're using that transportation system in a different way. But our special education transportation is different. But remember, every time we don't spend $1 right now in special education, we lose 56 cents on the dollar in reimbursement. So there's a little one coin and the other. And we're spending more money in other areas than we're not. So we may be saving some money on electricity, but we're spending 3 times as much on food. And we're spending way more on outreach to families that goes above and beyond contracted hours.
Well, these are points that should be made to the state, that these things are being done.
They absolutely
good.
are. And as Emily said, what is going on in Wyndham Central is going on across the state. And so there's $31.1 million that's supposed to flow through to the SUs and SDs. Unfortunately, a lot of that money, there's a lot of places where that money could be gobbled up. One is the things we're currently doing right now in overspending certain line items. Another one is the discussion at the state level about whether that money will actually end up getting to the SUs and SDs, or whether there will be some other accounting structures that would have that money be making up for other money that would not be being received. And if you need more explanation on that, Lori Garland is fabulous at it, and she's on the line.
Yeah, she just popped in when we started talking money. Yes, Lori.
So just to piggyback on what Bill is saying, basically this COVID CARE Act, COVID-19 money, as we refer to it, will be coming down from the feds into the SU level. It does not go into the ed fund. However, they need this money because of the shortfall. So I envision something like maybe the healthcare recapture. I don't know if you all remember that. Some of you were on the board at that time, where they captured the potential savings of the healthcare changes when we went to the new plans. So what they did was they reduced the ed spending money over a 2-year period. So I can envision something like that happening, where the money will come down from the feds, and it will probably come down, think ERA money, through grants, that type of thing, and have to be used in a supplement, not supplant, way. So, that means you can't, you might be spending more on, teachers' contracts or counselors or something like that, but you've already done that. You can't pay for that type of thing. And then sometimes you can. So it is a little broader than a grant, but that's how I envision it happening. So we may get this money, but then there might be some other mechanism for the state to take it back. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, Ken.
It always makes sense when the state intercepts your money. Got it, Lori.
Okay. Do you need more, Bill, or do you have enough to go?
I just want to make sure that the board is comfortable
Howie.
with me and my colleagues going off with coming up with options for the board to consider over the next 4 or 5 months. Obviously, every time I touch base with the board and every time we touch base with the budget committee, we'll get feedback. But the goal is by the end of August to have some fully vetted options for the board to be able to share with the community and get feedback before they go into budget building season. And the only guiding document we're going to use, or the only requirements, the only guidelines, the only guardrails are going to be, it has to meet the values of the West River Board.
Thanks, Scotty. Howie, you wanted to comment?
Yeah, I'd like to say plan for the worst as far as the budget goes. Give us a worst case bare bones budget as a basis, because things are going to get bad. Wyndham Elementary School has cut down to 1 teacher/principal, to keep our end going. I think we need to look at, now that kids are getting used to doing online learning, switching over any class that can't attract 20 or more kids into an online version of that class, so we can continue to keep our offerings without, exceeding our budget. We need to look seriously at it because it's a serious situation. So yeah, I would like to see in that range something where we sharply curtail staff and continue to offer the range of options curriculum-wise by online learning.
I think that fits in with, as long as we, make sure that we are satisfying the values of the West River. I think all those options are open. I mean, that's what I'm hoping that the discussions are about for the next 4 to 5 months. We have to look at them all. Then the board has to decide what they want to present to the communities, and the communities will give you guys feedback, and then some decisions will be made. So yeah, I think we're in the same line there, Howie.
All right. Thank you all. Any final words on that? Okay. So administrative tasks for the next meeting. Anything? Keep us posted on, essentially just kind of keep us posted on this. I mean, the next meeting on the calendar is April 27th, where we're going to start talking about designing goals and parameters. There's really,
I'm thinking you don't have to meet on the 27th, as long as you guys are okay with letting us go forward to start our work, and then we can give our first, salve to you all at your first meeting in May.
okay. And if you need a budget committee, if you need feedback, board feedback for ahead of that, you could always ask for a budget committee meeting.
Perfect.
Or a full board meeting, whatever you want.
Okay.
All right. So there really aren't any tasks then, necessarily.
Well, we're going to be doing some work before your next meeting.
Oh yeah, but nothing we're going to task you with. And I don't think there's unless there's a policy committee meeting where you look at the weapons policy again to take care of those things. I think that's the only committee task there is.
Yeah, I'm confident that the policy committee will get together prior to you guys meeting at the third week of May. Just to let you all know, Scott Tabachnik has volunteered to assist that committee as the superintendent's designee. I thought it was important to have a principal on that committee to be able to have voice and reflection. And he will keep me well informed of anything that I need to know, but kind of that boots on the ground so that those conversations can be really fruitful for the budget committee. And so Scotty, I just want to thank you for doing that.
That's great. Thank you, Scotty. Okay, so I have a question just before we move down the list here. We're going to approve pay orders. How are we going to do that remotely, Lori?
Okay, so what's going to happen is next Monday, I'm going to email or share a folder with 2 people on your board to go ahead and approve pay orders. And then that way you don't have to come in and you don't have to touch paper because there's a certain time frame that you're really not supposed to touch paper. And then because you haven't touched the paper, then the treasurer can come in and sign the checks. So typically you have a meeting on the 3rd Monday. So that's what we planned for, is the 20th. And you know, it's been a little slower with people not being in the building, getting all the information together as well. So if you want to just give me the names of 2 people I can email this folder to, that would be terrific.
I'll do one. Anybody else want to volunteer to review the pay orders by mail? Trish,
thanks, Trish. Okay, so look for an email from either myself or Terry Fletcher. It'll probably come in a Google folder type of thing.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So we won't have a motion to approve pay orders tonight then?
Not tonight.
Okay. Trish, question.
That's a question.
Sorry, just a total aside, nobody cares. Just be patient with me. For some reason, sometimes I have multiple email addresses, and so Google Docs are sometimes a pain. I might have to do a little back and forth, but I'll get there.
Okay.
Okay. So we need a motion to approve the minutes of March 16th, March 23rd, and March 26th. Ken?
I will make the motion to approve the minutes for March 16th, March 23rd, and March 26th.
There a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Howie. Any discussion about the minutes? All right, ready to vote? All in favor, please say aye. Howie?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Leanne?
Aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Trish?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes. Okay, we have an executive session for a contractual matter. There's actually a way to do this without canceling the meeting, starting another one and doing it that BCTV has figured out and given me the directions. So essentially we need a motion to go into executive session for the contractual matter. And then anybody who wants to be here after the executive session, you know, after we come out of executive session, I'll just put you in the waiting room and then I'll let you back in. If you don't want to stay, you don't have to. So We just need yes, Bill.
So Lori and the principals can go and enjoy their evening.
Thank you, Lori and the principals.
I'll make the motion to go into executive session for a contractual matter.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, please say aye. Ken,
Aye.
Howie,
Aye.
Dana,
Aye.
Emily,
Aye.
Leanne,
Aye.
Lindsay,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Trish.
Aye.
We're out of executive session, and we didn't take any action. So we just have one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Don't all make it at once. Mike, you made it. Ken, you seconded it.
So be it.
All right. All in favor, please say aye. Ken,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Howie,
Aye.
Dana,
Aye. Be safe.
Emily,
Aye.
Leanne,
Aye.
Lindsay,
Aye.
Trish.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone. BCTV and Aaron, board members. Stay safe, everybody.
Thank
too.
you.
You too.
Good night.
Bye now.
Night.
Good.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everybody.